Then in 2018, as part of the Planning for Time to Shine's legacy, we held a consultation event that asked older people and the organisations who work to support older people what they felt the Time to Shine legacy should include. And one of the strongest messages from that was to have older people seen in a more positive light and to have some stereotypes challenged. And then finally, the Leeds Age-Friendly Action Plan includes the outcome that ageing is promoted positively and older people feel worthwhile and valued as citizens of Leeds. And so from that, a campaign plan began to develop. We began by creating an elevator pitch, which is a quick description of what the campaign is all about, a sort of script that all partners could consistently use to involve people, even if they only have a minute or two in a lift with someone. We tried to focus on the positives and to redress the balance. Getting older does bring positives, but we never hear about those in the media. Ageing always seems to get such a bad press. We relied on a range of influences, which brought us to develop the campaign. So through research and reading and TED Talks. And in fact, you can see a quote here from Ashton Applewhite, and her TED Talk was a real inspiration. So I'll share the link to that TED Talk in the chat in a little while. The whole team were involved, and all partners, and everyone's ideas were shared. Tackling ageism is something we can all benefit from, no matter what age you are. And we felt we needed to bring everyone on board in developing and rolling out the campaign. So we used co-production in many aspects of the campaign. This is just an overview of the 7 key areas, and the following slides will then provide more detail about each of these. But we wanted to create a brand that left an impression on people and that let people connect with the campaign. Our logo was developed with our partners, and it had to link to the branding for Age Friendly Leeds. And the campaign name, Age Proud Leeds, was chosen to allow us to link with national Age Proud campaigns. Our images were of real people of all ages, but all from the community of Leeds. And our partners really helped us to promote through their own communication channels and out on the streets of Leeds. We worked to develop our key messages before we launched with lots of research and reading and discussion, etc. But our Age Friendly Steering Group and Age Proud Leeds partners have helped to give those messages some shape. The Leeds Older People's Forum default setting is for co-production, so older people were really involved. We created a film and promotional materials using older models, well, in fact, models of all ages, who we refer to as the faces of Age Proud Leeds, to create a visual identity. And we then created a podcast with the voices of older people from diverse communities. The voices and faces now regularly feature on promotional materials and in consultation with events across the city. The launch saw the coming together of many of these elements. So older people, local councillors, Time to Shine delivery partners, and we even had a group of older ladies Bollywood dancing for us, which we felt was the epitome of Age Proud. Age Friendly Ambassadors is an initiative to recruit adults of any age to take action and to raise awareness of the age friendly message. People get involved and who then help us to co-produce. Creating resources. The website has a range of resources, and many will be included in the National Co-Production Toolkit. And we'll talk in more detail about those later. Our partners helped us create these, and some created blogs for us and wrote articles. And we also wanted to create activities that the public could engage with and use to contribute to the campaign. These invite people to share news or include a call to action. But again, we'll tell you more about that later. I'll just hand over to Sarah now for the next slide.
Thanks, Linda. So yeah, one of the first things we did when we were planning the campaign was to set up an Age Proud Leeds partnership, which included these organisations in the top half of this slide. And this, we formed a steering group really of these, we were Leeds Older People's Forum, then we had the council involved, both in terms of the public health team, the museums and galleries department, the libraries. We had third sector through our local neighbourhood networks who are very much frontline working with older people in communities. We had the NHS through the teaching hospitals and the CCG. And we met and continued to meet on a regular basis when we were planning the campaign and throughout as we continue to run the campaign. And this core group helped in shaping messages. It was also so helpful in terms of getting our communications out there, in shaping, how we were going to communicate with people, how we were going to engage with the public. But also, it's so useful having all these partners who can help us to get the messages out. So, for example, we had a stall at the Central Library in Leeds. We had articles in magazines that went out to GP surgeries. We recruited age-friendly ambassadors within the hospital. It also helped us in terms of relating the campaign to other things that were happening in Leeds. So, for example, we delivered a presentation on ageism in the workplace as part of National Inclusion Week to Leeds City Council employees. We also, as well as having this kind of more formal partnership, involved much broader organisations, private sector organisations and local authority and third sector through our wider Age Friendly Leeds work. So as part of Age Friendly Leeds, we ask businesses and organisations to take action to ensure their services are more welcoming to older people. And being anti-ageist is obviously a big part of that. So we got all these partners involved as well. And then finally, last but certainly not least, older people in Leeds. So we work very closely with our Age Friendly steering group, who are a group of older people from Leeds who we meet with on a regular basis. And so in terms of shaping the messages for the campaign, talking to us about ageism that people had experienced in their own lives, they were really central in that. And then older people of Leeds, through our engagement activities, through our events, our podcasts, we tried as much as we could to involve and to engage people as we went along. So Age Proud Leeds has 5 key messages, and we arrived at these through lots of discussion, reading, research, talking with older people. We came to realise quite early on that ageism is quite a complex subject, and so to ensure that the campaign was engaging and accessible to people, we broke it down into these 5 broad areas, which we had a focus on for 2 to 3 months at a time. So the first one, let's talk about ageism, is all about getting it out there. What is ageism? How widespread it is? Let's start a conversation. Some people were even sort of saying, well, is ageism really a thing, or is ageism really important? And so this first message is really about saying, yes, it is. Here's what it is. The second one, ageism affects people of all ages, is around saying that this campaign isn't just about older people, that younger people are also the victim of ageism, but also that we all need to think about our own ageing in terms of changing and challenging those negative perceptions that are out there in the media and in other places around ageing. And it also gave us an opportunity to introduce intergenerational elements into the campaign. The third key message, ageism, what does it do to us, is all around the impacts on our health and well-being, on how much we participate in society, on our access to services, to employment, things like that were highlighted here. The fourth message, older, different, equal, is all around the idea that older people are not all the same. Quite often they're all lumped in together, but you could have, between 50 and 100, there could be 3 generations in there. But also older people are diverse in all kinds of ways, just as younger people are. And some people may have experienced other types of discrimination throughout their lives. And how does this then intersect with ageism as they become older? And how do we all experience aging differently as well? And finally, the fifth key message, time to feel good about aging, is all about the positives. Again, trying to redress the balance, talking about the positive things about getting older, and also celebrating the contributions which older people make. As Linda mentioned, we wanted to make sure we used the people of Leeds in our campaign. We held a photo shoot early on where we invited older people that we work with and that our partners work with, and some younger people as well, to come along. We made these placards, took lots of photos, had lots of fun, and basically this was became the visual identity of the campaign alongside our logo. We also made a film. This was made really early on, and it was a film which was designed to sort of define what ageism is, and using older people leads in it. So I'm just going to play it now. It's just a couple of minutes long.
Ageism is the stereotyping, prejudice and discrimination against people on the basis of their age. Ageism is widespread and an insidious practice which has harmful effects on the health of older adults. For older people, ageism is an everyday challenge. Overlooked for employment, restricted from social services, and stereotyped in the media, ageism marginalises and excludes older people in their communities.
Ageism is everywhere, yet it is the most socially normalised of any prejudice and is not widely countered like racism or sexism.
In Leeds, we are tackling ageism through the Age Proud Leeds campaign. It's a call to action for all Leeds citizens to shift negative attitudes and age stereotypes. You can find out more about the campaign and how you can get involved by visiting our website.
Ageism.
Sorry about that. Okay, and then finally, on my section, I just wanted to mention the launch event and give a little bit more detail about that. So we held the launch event in October 2019. It was a public event when we were allowed to do those at Leeds City Museum. We had around 150 people attend, who were a real mix of general public and people who work with older people and other professionals. We had our age-friendly steering group present, and Angie's going to talk a little bit about a bit more about that shortly. It was great to have a councillor there to give it that sort of political endorsement behind the campaign. We also had Joyce Williams, who some of you may know as Grandma Williams, who is a blogger and has been on TV and things talking about ageism. We launched our age-friendly ambassadors scheme at the event. It was really vibrant, full of energy, with our Bollywood dancers and a marketplace event as well of local delivery partners who are delivering services. So it was a great sort of public way to kick off the campaign in a very public space as well. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Angie for the next few slides.
Good afternoon from my lounge in Leeds. I'm an age-friendly ambassador and a founder member of the Age-Friendly Steering Group, which has been in existence for about 4 years. It's part of the Time to Shine project. As age-friendly activists, we want to contribute to a friendlier city, which welcomes older people and enables us to enjoy being part of city life. We like to hear from visitors from outside organisations like the police, public spaces, health, housing, social care and transport. We like to contribute to their plans, and we ask lots of questions to encourage them to develop age-friendly plans and policies, to remove barriers to access, and to acknowledge older people as part of the city and as customers. At the launch, my friend Dan talked about the importance of creating an age-friendly, accessible and welcoming city. As age-proud activists, we champion age-friendly schemes like Come In and Rest. Older people need to know where we'll find a toilet and somewhere to sit down. We aim to remove the invisibility cloak which stops people noticing us. After a total knee replacement, I used a walking stick. People barged into me, blocked my path and prevented me from using handrails. I became afraid to go out and my independence was impaired. Here's my friend Diana talking about the importance of involving older people in planning and development in Leeds. Planners may not take account of our varied experience of city life. Most older people have comorbidities, that's lots of health problems. I've got osteoarthritis in my knees and ankles. I can't ride a bike, but I still like dancing. We want to share time and space with you as friendly activists. The Age-Friendly Steering Group is ready to tackle issues which have impacted on us. We're happy to collaborate with younger people like the Preservative Party. Our paradigms may be different because we've all had different experiences, but we remember being young. I've worked in retail, hospitality, health education, market research and on stage and screen. I've been made redundant twice and been hospitalised 4 times, including once for dementia after a food poisoning. Our hope is that Leeds will be a safer, more inclusive city. Let's remove barriers and enjoy our lives together.
Thank you, Angie. So as part of the key message that Sarah mentioned earlier, older, different, equal, we've been talking to older people from diverse communities about ageism and discrimination. And we created a podcast using online interviews to collect their comments. This was the first time we'd made a podcast and we have learnt a lot along the way. But the conversations confirmed that people from diverse communities have valuable insight into coping with the effects of discrimination, and older people are a huge reservoir of stories and ideas. We asked people who've helped us in our work to be interviewed individually, and we used the same open questions about discriminations with everyone. Before we arranged the interviews, we talked them through because we wanted to give people time to decide if they wanted to take part and to share their views about this topic, especially as we were going to be putting it online and it would be available forever. Exploring ageism with older people from diverse communities was really interesting. The Age-Friendly Ambassadors initiative is about attracting adults of any age. And whilst some people are just representing themselves as individuals, some represent an organisation or a place of work. They promote the age-friendly messages and the age-proud messages within their workplace or their community. Every age-friendly ambassador receives a pack of resources, which includes a role profile and a badge that they wear with pride. A welcome session has been created to bring them together. But that was a face-to-face thing, but it's now switched to online. But the age-friendly ambassadors have now started to have regular get-togethers, which has also been switched to online, which allows us to hear what they've been doing in their role as an ambassador. We'll add a link to the chat in a moment to our list of resources, but the list of we also drew up a list of sources of support that give information about legislation that makes ageism illegal, and we added safeguarding contact details too for those who might be experiencing elder abuse. We also shared contact details for those who are experiencing ageism at work or whilst accessing healthcare. And we gave a list of helplines such as Silverline and Age UK. The faces of the campaign, such as those that you see in this presentation, were added to posters, and partners across the city were encouraged to display the posters to get people talking about ageism and its impact. And it's important that we feel safe and confident in challenging ageism if we want people to talk about it. So we created a list of top tips and gave some examples of common ageist remarks and behaviours and the respective challenges that people might make. And we also made this available in easy read. We wanted people to better understand what ageism is. As Sarah mentioned, some people actually said, "Is that a thing?" So we provided links to various research and findings on the subject. We included numerous articles on ageism that we found in the media, and we added a call to action that if anybody else found at such an article, they should share it with us. And there were quite a lot. It really has become quite a hot topic. We produced a resource on action that individuals can take to feel good and being able to shout about their own ageing and to share one good thing with us about ageing. So we'll add the link to that too. Leeds Libraries also gave us a reading list of books that they recommended and that might challenge our perceptions of ageing. These ranged from books that were written as far back as 1848 and as recently as 2014. And we also put together a list of films that told stories of ageing. Not all are positive views, but they all encourage us to talk about it. And we invite people to write blogs for us, and many are linked to ageism. Blog authors include Grandma Williams and Thomas Scharf, the gerontologist, but many are just from the local people of Leeds who've seen or heard or experienced ageism and want to share their story with us. And then we created a list of activities. These were developed to support people to actually take action and have been a key part of the campaign. We want Age Proud to change things, but we want action to be easy, not too time consuming, and we want it to be positive. Again, we'll add the link to the activities page, and we invite you all to tell us one good thing and join in this positive messaging. People can share a celebration of an older person with us and learn about our Wise Up to Ageism awareness raising sessions, and it would be great to have you all join us at one of those. There's a quiz that you can use to test yourself or to engage people in your own discussion about ageism. A Up Is This Ageist is a call to action that asks people to tell us about examples of ageism that they see or hear or experience and strike up a debate. You might have come across it before in America where they call it Yo, Is This Ageist? This is our Yorkshire version. We ask people to write a postcard to their future self as well. And I'd like to share an example of one of those with you, which is from an NHS worker called Jo, who at the time of writing is 55, but she's writing to herself at the age of 90. It reads, "Dear Jo, if you're reading this, I'm really happy that you're still around. You might be a great granny by now. You might be a bit slower at getting around by now, but I bet you're still getting around as much as you can. Up to the age that I am now, 55, you've had an amazing life. A fabulous husband, wonderful daughters, great in-laws, amazing grandchildren. I can only imagine life becoming better and better as you have more time to do the things that you enjoy. I bet your sense of humour is still as crazy, and I really hope you're still rocking the pink hair and leopard print. It's possible that you could be living with Beth and Phil by now, or maybe in a nursing home. But knowing you, you'll probably still be living independently and loving it. Keep travelling. Visit Lucy and Aaron and spend a couple of months there. Keep loving, keep laughing, keep singing. Take every opportunity to live life to the full. Take care of yourself. You are loved." Thank you. I'm going to hand back to Sarah now.
Thank you, Linda. So this slide is a summary of all that we've achieved so far in the campaign. So we've had over 850 people engaged directly. So that means coming to our events, but also taking part in an online activity, such as writing a postcard to future self. We've held over 40 events, both online and in person. We've connected with lots of other organisations, recruited 175 age-friendly ambassadors from across all different sectors, general public, private sector, local authority, NHS. And we've had over 8,000 web page views since we launched. And we've just put on a few quotes here from people who've been engaged in the campaign about things that they've said, particularly like the last one. "I wish I was 80, then I'd know everything," said Henry, aged 6. It's important to mention as well that because our campaign is a partnership and we're all in it together, that we all need to be involved in the monitoring and evaluation of the campaign. So, our partners, write blogs, our partners run events, speak to people, hold discussions. So we need to all contribute and be part of the evaluation together. So as Linda mentioned, co-production is something which we do a lot of at Leeds Older People's Forum, and it really is at the heart of all our work within the Friendly Communities project. This quote comes from the NTDI, their guide to co-production with older people. And we thought it really sort of summed up the importance of co-production to us. As we said, it runs through all our work, and we really believe that it's made our campaign stronger. It's certainly made it more authentic as a result of all that engagement with all those organisations, with older people, with the people of Leeds. You can't run an anti-ageism campaign without co-producing it with older people. You can't do age-friendly work without having older people at the heart of it. And on this diagram, you can just see all the different partners, people, ways in which we've engaged and linked with others throughout the campaign. Really, Age Proud Leeds is made up of all these different places and people all coming together to work towards a common cause. And we just wanted to finish on a positive. As we've said, there's a lot of negativity out there towards ageing, towards older people. And, during the pandemic, we've seen older people seen as solely sort of dependent on others, as in recipients of care, as being vulnerable. When of course they've been contributing, they've been participating, they've been working, they've been volunteering throughout. And so as well as wanting to shift that perception as well, really our campaign at the heart of it is about being positive about our own ageing, not just positive about older people, but about ageing itself is really central to our campaign, around shifting attitudes, and the fact that we're all in this together, that we need to take action together to change those attitudes, to challenge ageism and to raise awareness, is why it's so important to work with our partners and to co-produce the campaign. So thank you for listening, everybody. There are our contact details, and I'll hand over to Vicky now, who's got some questions for us, I think.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and thanks to all of you for that incredibly powerful and moving story of how you've developed the campaign. And we've got some questions that have popped up in the panel now, so I'm just going to field the first one for you. So the first question comes from Dave. Thanks for your question, Dave. Dave's asking, have you any ambition for your partner organisations to embed combating ageism within their organisations' policies and practice? Are there any plans or any ideas that you could share with us for doing that?
Shall I start with that one?
Go for it.
Thanks for the question, Dave. And yeah, it's a really good one, and something that we thought about a lot when we were first planning the campaign is how do we ensure that, as well as individuals coming along, that organisations take action, look internally at ourselves, look internally at themselves, their recruitment processes, whatever it might be. The first thing is that our campaign is very closely linked to our work with age-friendly businesses. And one of the things that we ask our age-friendly businesses to do when they sign up is to state what actions they're going to take. And many of them have stated actions around becoming more age-friendly, becoming less ageist, ways in which they can tackle ageism, and joining the Age Proud Leeds campaign has been one of those. Don't know if you've got anything further to add, Linda.
I would just add that I think one of the key areas that we were hoping to start changing attitudes was within health, and we've had a number of age-friendly ambassadors sign up that are health professionals, and we've had lots of support from the hospitals in promoting that particular initiative. So that links really closely up to the Age Proud Leeds. And then we've also got plans to develop sustainability for the age-friendly project within Leeds City Council, so that the work that we've begun becomes embedded in the work that they do as part of age-friendly, dementia-friendly Leeds. Don't know if that answers your question, Dave.
Hopefully that does. There's quite a lot going on there. So thank you for sharing that, both of you. So we have another question here that's come in from Helen. Helen's saying, hi, thank you for the webinar and all the information. I've got 2 questions to ask, if that's okay. The first one is, I'm interested to hear more about your intergenerational work and how you include younger people within the campaign. And has that something that's been continuing through the pandemic?
Yes, we had a Zoom call with the Preservative Party, which is a group of young people who meet at Leeds Library, and we shared our views and agreed that we would meet once a month.
Thanks, Angie. Anything else to add on that?
Yeah, Angie said, but it's an ongoing project that work with the Preservative Party. They're a group of young people who we are going to continue to meet with. I think there's plans afoot to make a film and just watch this space, and we always sort of, when we were planning the various engagement activities that have now gone online. I see there was a question about whether is everything continuing. I mean, we did have to have a bit of a shift in perspective as a result of lockdown. We used to go out to lots of groups, to lots of community spaces, and we had to change that. But when we moved everything online, we really wanted to make sure that, you know, this campaign was reaching everybody. And so, you know, we use a wide range of places to promote it: social media, web, different organisations, some that work with younger people, some that work with older people, so that we keep younger people engaged and involved during and throughout the campaign.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sarah. And the second part then of Helen's question is around the podcasts that you produced with older people. And Helen's asking, what are some of the important things to keep in mind when producing a podcast with older people? Are there any sort of tips and advice you can give?
I'll start with that, but I think Sarah will probably add to it. So I think one of the key things to do with the podcasts was to give yourself plenty of time, because we did want to check that people were comfortable with what they were saying and that they were comfortable that it was going to be shared. There were a few technical lessons to learn as well, as in what platforms to use to make sure that you were creating something that was easily shareable and was of good quality. And then we also had to think about whether we were going to have subtitles and text available, as well as the actual podcast. So a few technical kind of things to get our head around. But I think we went with the podcast to focus on one particular key message, which was the older, different, equal diversity message. But I think it's something we'd like to do more of and develop more podcasts. So yeah, it was a learning curve. I think that's safe to say, isn't it, Sarah?
I think it was very important to have an auto cue so that we remembered what we were meant to be saying.
And also, I think to ensure people, as you say, that they were comfortable, was to ensure that they were fully prepared. So when we were holding the interviews, the questions that we were going to be asking, making sure they were aware what those were. We actually found that people spoke lots and had lots to say, and so much wisdom and sort of valuable experience was shared, that really the main challenge we had was editing the podcast to fit it into the time frame, because there was so much brilliant stuff that was used. And we actually found that using Zoom was a good way of capturing people's voices as well. So that's just a little tip if you're wondering the best way to do it. We found Zoom was good because you can obviously record on it and then use that as a sound recording after.
Great, some great tips there. Thank you, everybody. So just on the subject of accessibility and helping to get people online, Judith's asking if you gave laptops or other devices, I guess, to people who were ambassadors if they didn't have one.
No, people accessed on mobile phones, and I use a tablet, and obviously some people had a computer. Zoom is incredibly easy to use. I really enjoy using Zoom, and it's so much easier. You don't have to go out to a venue, so I'm hoping it'll carry on and I won't have to be standing at the bus stop too much in future.
I think it's probably worth mentioning that we do have excellent support within Leeds. We've got an organisation called 100% Digital, and they are really good at giving advice to people and talking people through the step-by-step processes about getting online. So we're really lucky to have that. And they also have a lending library, so we can arrange for people to borrow particular devices and so on. And we've also, we've got within the Time to Shine team, we've got some people who are really good at the whole technology, and from the start, we're able to talk to people on the phone and guide them through the processes of getting online and so on. So we've had lots of support with that, and it has worked effectively.
Great, thanks. So it sounds like there's quite a lot of support available to people that need it as and when they need it. And it's good to know, Angie, that you're now a Zoom convert. So we've got a few more questions, actually. Imogen's asking, she says that you've built up an impressive network of partner organisations. Were these existing relationships? And if not, how did you go about engaging key stakeholders? Any tips on that would be greatly appreciated.
So I'll start with that one. A lot of them were existing, and that is because Age Proud Leeds feeds into, or is part of rather, the wider Age Friendly Leeds partnership. So within Age Friendly Leeds, it covers such a wide variety of sectors: health, various elements of the local authority, third sector organisations. So we did have quite a lot of those links in that framework. So that was really useful for us to start with. But there were others that we wanted to bring in. And so in order to do that, I think we invited people along. People were quite keen. They in many respects, felt that this was really needed. And so we invited people. We also used our partners to invite people along, and we found that the more that we got the word out there, that we got the website up and running, we started going out and delivering talks, that we got resources out there, that more and more people got on board. So it wasn't really a struggle to recruit partner organisations. Yeah, we had lots of enthusiasm, I think. So wouldn't you agree, Linda?
Yeah, I would say we were pleasantly surprised really by how quickly things started to come together. We started to have Age Proud partnership meetings, and we still hold those. Then they have switched to online now, of course, but we were holding those in a face-to-face environment, and they're really positive meetings where all the partners have something to contribute. So it's felt like a really equal partnership with full of ideas, and particularly around comms and communications and getting the message out there. Those partners have been really effective in sharing the messages and making sure that they get out through the various channels.
Fantastic, thank you. So a couple of more questions still to go. We have a question here asking, are there plans to draw together the combating ageism activity with other age-friendly communities and the other Ageing Better partners?
I'll start that. I'd say that that's in its early stages. I would say that we are talking to areas that are doing anti-ageism work. There are other Ageing Better programmes that are doing some work around this as well. And we've started to develop relationships with partners across the UK and beyond. So we've had conversations with people in America and Belgium and all kinds of places, really, so that the word is kind of out there, and it seems like the topic is gathering some momentum. So yeah, we are sort of talking about how we can bring the Age Proud message so that it becomes more of a national message rather than just a local one. So but those conversations are in the early stages, I would say, but they are starting to happen.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. So our final question then, have you found any differences or issues within the diverse communities you have had contact with as to how to deal with ageism, such as the compassionate ageism of so-called respect for elders?
I feel that when I had dementia for 24 hours, it was awful being in a ward with people, other people with dementia, because we were all so confused and we had no idea what time it was or anything. And that's really a case for inclusion. I'd have been much better on an admissions ward with people who would be able to tell me what was happening and what was going on. It was very difficult.
Thanks, Angie. Anything you'd like to add to that, Sarah or Linda?
I think it is quite a complex issue, and it might be worth listening to the podcast, because I think there's touches of it sort of throughout the podcast. There's sort of elements in the podcast around ways to break down barriers, for people from diverse communities to feel more inclusive, for groups and things to feel more inclusive. And I think sometimes they're sort of ideas which are sort of obvious and open and should be in any group activity. But yeah, I can't really think of anything specifically around that you would have a sort of different approach around breaking down ageism, other than making sure that groups are sort of inclusive of all older people.
Great, thanks. Thanks for adding that, Sarah. So finally then, Liz is asking, do you I think link in with other age-friendly groups elsewhere. And Liz is also asking, will the slides be shared? I'm assuming we can share the slides afterwards with the recording. Yeah, great.
Yes, well, we link in with other age-friendly organisations through the UK network. So the Centre for Ageing Better obviously manages the UK network of age-friendly communities, and we link in with their regular webinars and chats and calls on a regular basis. So we have that connection. And if there's sort of work that we're doing that is closely linked, so be it around ageism or be it around recruiting ambassadors, then there's more engagement that we could do with different areas to share good practice and what's worked and good tips and advice and things like that.
Fantastic. So there's obviously lots of opportunity to link up and share your experiences and learnings. So thank you. Great. Well, that's the end of the questions. So thanks to everybody that's put a question forward to the panel today. thank you so much once again to Linda, Sarah and Angie for sharing your experiences with us, sharing what you've been up to, and also really sort of underpinning the power of co-production as well, and how that has been such an important part of being able to develop and deliver the campaign. And you did touch on the toolkit earlier, and I know that you are going to be sharing a lot of your resources around this particular theme in the National Toolkit, and you're going to be delivering a workshop for us at the event that's coming up in April as well. In fact, you're in the first week commencing the 26th of April, and we have a guest coming along with you as well to take part in that, Dave Martin from the Centre of Policy on Ageing. So we're really looking forward to sharing that programme with everybody and letting you know what's in store. And the webinar has very much been sort of an introduction today, a bit of a taster, a bit of a bringing the theme to life, and you'll be able to gain lots more insight either through the online toolkit or if you come along to the workshop itself in April. So thank you very much everyone for attending today, and you have my email address, I'm sure. If you have any questions or anything that hasn't been answered, do just drop me a line. We do have 2 more webinars just left in this series now. We have another one tomorrow and then one on Thursday, and you also have a link to the programme if you're not yet signed up for that, but if you need any steer, just let me know. So I'm going to close the webinar now. So thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Thank you.